right, time for all the comments and all the... We got a ton of them, PK. The Utes, a comeback for the ages to stun Kansas State. How nuts was that game? So many comments. James, just needed to wait until it got dark. Utah's a much better home team at night. Played a game in
Well, I play so many games at night, though.
3. Texas Tech was a day game, Cal Poly was a day game, and this was a day game. He just limits it to home team. So.
Oh, home games.
Yeah. He says Utah is a much better home team at night.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know about that, but...
It certainly worked out for the 6 games this year, but yeah. 5 minus Cal Poly.
Yeah, in which they were going to, you can play that any time of the day.
Play that anytime you want, and that's going to be a blowout.
Right. It just was something that I've never seen from a Kyle Whittingham team, and even going back, Urban Meyer wasn't here long enough to draw any conclusions beyond that he was an excellent coach. But even for Ron McBride, there's a lot of similarities in what Ronnie Mack likes to do football-wise versus what Kyle Whittingham likes to do, and we've seen it now for Kyle Whittingham for what, is he in his 21st or 22nd year? And to see that amount of big plays allowed on the ground was just absolutely unheard of. The fact that they won, and that's great, and that's the ultimate objective. But we've seen them have some pretty good comebacks to win games or have some exciting games. They've had plenty of exciting games at Rice Eccles Stadium over the years. So I'm not really stunned about that because it's, I compare things to baseball. If you score 6 runs in the 7th inning, well, what's the difference? You got to get 27 outs. Here you got to play the game for 60 minutes. But the complexion and the way it happened was just something that you would have never thought possible to a team that is so good against the run to have all these big runs. It's amazing. I guess that's probably the only way, if you're going to go a lot on the ground to beat Utah, is to almost like, I want to say fluke, but when you have 11 of them, how can they be flukes? And that one right before the end of the first half, 80 yards? Is one play? What the heck?
What are you doing?
And is the FBI going to investigate this game? What was going on there? It was beyond something that I had seen, comprehended, whatever we want to put in there. But yet, it happened, and you can sort of, in a sense, laugh about it. And for the seniors, Lander Barton, obviously homegrown kid here, that's his last moment. Then he goes up there and does his interview topless. That's a lot of confidence. Everybody else is in their uniforms because they usually they always go first. Kyle, he likes to freshen up sometimes. And then goes last. And the players almost all the time are still in full uni. Then they go shower and put on their clothes that they came to the stadium with, meet their families, and away they go. But he's up there doing that with no shirt on, and not he had some kind of necklace on, not like a lei. There's like some long
They call them like
thing.
Kakui nuts or something like that. Yeah,
they look cool.
They were colored.
And I'm happy for the kid. I told you my wife had him in the 6th grade as a teacher and a student, and she told me then, well, this kid's off the charts with his athletic ability. She'd always have him illustrate
demonstrate whatever
because she taught PE.
Yeah, so every time they do a new sport, Lander, come here, let's show them how it's done.
Right.
And of course, in junior high, he's pretty awesome as a college football player. So.
Yeah, and then one time his sister was playing in the beach volleyball tournament, and we were down there for Pac-12 media, and we stayed at the same hotel, and we walk in, and he walks in with his mother, who I've talked to her a million times, was a great athlete herself, and he looks at her, and he says, "What are you doing here?" And she looks at him and says, "What are you doing here?" And he was just a young kid at the time, so it's cool to have a local kid get the interception right at the end, someone who we've literally seen grow up. And so the seniors, and there's several guys, the Fano brothers and Lomu, they all were recognized on senior day. They're not seniors.
But if it's your last game.
Yeah, and Kyle they said that last week. If there's any chance that you won't come back, go ahead and do your thing. And I would think that certainly Spencer and Caleb, they've been tagged as first-round picks. I think Fano's a junior, and the other one, Lum, was a redshirt sophomore, so he could have a couple more years. But when Spencer Fano is being helped off the field towards the end of the game, that's the very reason why you go.
Go sign the contract,
Yes.
get the money, get on with it already.
Yes.
The NAL money's awesome, but it's not as awesome as NFL money.
Right.
Much bigger stacks of money over there.
And offensive line, obviously you're having collisions every single play you're out there. And Logan, he's a big kid too. And then maybe he could probably play in the NFL. So that was a fine opportunity. And in a manner now for them, they may look back and say, wow, that's a game nobody will ever forget. And if they would have beat them 24-10, it would have been nice, but it would have been lost in the memory.
Yeah.
Now everybody will remember this game.
Nobody's forgetting that thing. Jaden, I cannot believe the Ute defense allowed nearly 500 yards rushing and still won. It's got a little surprised emoji face. That is the essence of it right there. I can't believe they were that bad in that phase of the game and still won.
I'm not shocked that they won. Because if they would have allowed 500 yards, almost 470, whatever it was, on the ground more conventionally, then they wouldn't have had opportunities. But because they were so quick.
They got the ball back, and there were more possessions in the game.
Right.
Yeah. Your strategery there, that's well read.
If you go within the context of how it happened.
The average, you look at the stats, it looks like they averaged 10 yards a carry. If they'd literally gotten 10 yards on every carry, it would have shortened the game, and they would have had time to come back.
Right. Yeah, they would have had one possession in the second quarter or whatever it might be. So, in a sense, having that happen was not that stunning. And I think lost in this is another prolific game by the offense.
51 points.
Yeah.
And nobody's talking about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And this offense has been doing this consistently. If you do it 5-6 times, it's not a fluke. It's who you are. And this offense, Jason Beck's sitting over here thinking, hey, what about us? Are we talking about them and their screw-ups? Look what we did. And look what we've been doing. And he's right. Not that he would say that, but if he did, it would be right. The offense did what they needed to do. Again.
That's 8 games of 40 points or more this year.
That's awesome.
8 out of 11.
This Dampier is essentially did what he did in New Mexico. The season's basically done now.
But he's doing it with a better defense against better competition.
Right.
Yeah.
In a sense, it doesn't really matter what happens Friday. I think pretty much their fate is sealed. Now, obviously, they want to go 10-2. I get it. But I don't think that it would make that significant.
You want to win the game, but Vegas Bowl. You're not going to the Big 12 title game. You're not going to the playoff. You're going to the Vegas Bowl. Win or lose, I think.
Okay, fine. Whatever bowl. It makes no difference to me. Whatever it might be. Yeah, and they're going to – I would assume they would win. I watched Kansas. They didn't look very good the other day. And there's no reason to think that the Utes won't win, and they'll have an excellent season, 10-2. And they honored everybody who deserved to be honored with the possibility of one person.
Kyle Whittingham.
Yeah. Right.
He got choked up talking about the senior's last game. Did it occur to everybody that maybe he was getting choked up because he was thinking it was also his last game?
Yeah, but he doesn't want to be honored.
Right.
Just
slip out the back, Jack. Drop off the key, Lee.
It's interesting that you use song lyrics. Is that,
speaks to him.
And that may be something that he was doing last night. We'll leave it at that.
More reaction pouring in here from Ute fans. Steve, yet at the end of the day, it means nothing.
I disagree.
It was wildly entertaining.
Well,
don't you go to the games to have fun?
Sure, but you had a slew of recruits there. Mm-hmm. That is so narrow thinking. College football is a perpetual build.
More than ever. That was always true.
Yes.
And I think you would argue that something could be more true, but I think it's more true now.
Well, because kids can come and be eligible immediately.
Yep.
Yes. So, no. 10-2. Because you could argue that that's probably a BYU fan who's thinking, well, they're not going to go to the title game. They're not going to go to the playoff. Okay. Well, if BYU doesn't go to the playoff, does Cincinnati's game mean nothing? Does a 11-1 season mean nothing? Of course it doesn't. I don't know what's going to happen, and I wouldn't say that they're a lock. I think it's a joke. I think if you go 11-2 and 11-1, you ought to be in the friggin' playoff. I think that's ridiculous to think that you wouldn't be in. And especially when the standard has been established, all you got to do is look good because you're being criticized for not looking good against Texas Tech. So the flip side of that, you can't have one without the other. The flip side is all you got to do is go to Arlington and look good.
The flip side is they're not in the Big Ten or the SEC, and the game is rigged.
I don't know. The game is rigged.
The Big Ten and the SEC have set up the playoff game.
Oh, the format is rigged.
The format, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
You had me nervous there for a second.
No, not the actual game. No,
Okay.
no.
Well,
No, it should. Yeah, I know. I get your point. There've been enough gambling scandals lately. You can't really assume people don't know that's what you're talking about. No, it's just if you're in this league and you have one loss, you're at the bottom of the one-loss teams. Utah gets a ton of respect, so they're in the middle of the two-loss teams, not at the bottom of the two-loss teams. That qualifies as a ton of respect in the Big 12.
right, but then what you're doing is you're giving I keep saying El Paso with Texas Tech. I don't know why. You're giving Texas Tech respect because the team that they beat, you don't have respect for them. That doesn't make any sense.
They have to let one team in, so they just, all right, Tech.
Yeah, but you'll see what their seed, though. Where are they seated? If they're seated in the top 4, that's respect.
Yeah, they'd have to move them in front of some one-loss teams then.
I know.
I guess they do have them in front of Oregon now. That's true. So they do
They've
have
been
them
in front of Oregon for a
for
bit.
2 weeks now.
So you're going to give them respect for a team you don't respect.
Correct.
As we say back in South Jersey, come on.
Back in South Jersey. You're trying to move the Eagles back in South Jersey.
That's
They're
where
not even talking,
on. That's where
not even
on.
talking college football.
Yeah, and on. That's the way they talk. A little bit different from North Jersey.
Okay.
Ours is, come bleeping on. You go a little more north. So, it's crazy. But no, 10-2, it doesn't mean nothing or anything. That's ridiculous. That's a fine season, and that's a fine football team, and it's a fine football program. And somebody creates some format, that doesn't determine how good you are. Somebody's format, somebody's beauty contest. No, I will never acknowledge that. I will go to my grave protesting that.
DJ PK, it's 97.5 The Zone. All right, there's some serious takes, and we'll get to the rivalry smack talk. We'll do that next. DJ PK, it's 97.5 the KSL Sports Zone.